everything, right? The trees as well. There's a spirit that brings life to them. And it's the same spirit that's permeating through us. That's what connects us all. That's what people have a hard time trying to figure out. It seems too deep. That's why Taoists spend so much time just trying to think about nothing. When they say when you meditate, try to think about nothing, they're trying to realize the fact that they can even be here. Just the idea of the potential of being alive is incredible to them. And that's what they've reduced God to, that fundamental.
We're going to need a rewind on that.
So they're just like, eh.
They laugh, they ridicule.
Yes.
And here's another point. We had this conversation. I used to be a ridiculer in high school. Ridiculer. Sorry, a ridiculer. Like I don't want to say I made fun of people for being smart, but I wasn't exactly idolizing it. That makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
So like I look at
you were trying to mock it so that you don't seem like you're the dumb kid.
Exactly.
I get it.
And I look back and I realize exactly that. It's like, man, I'm the idiot. I was trying to make sure that everybody stays in my idiot lane.
Exactly.
You know? Like, don't go there. Don't go there.
It's so subconscious.
Things will go bad.
Reading? What you reading
how
for?
How dare you read?
Right.
And now you're like, damn, I probably should have read more books.
I low-key did that too. I won't lie.
Exactly that.
I made fun of my girlfriend because she read. I was like, what is that, book? That's disgusting. Look at me today.
Yeah, no. Look who's enjoying books now.
Yeah. Look at me now.
You opened the few and you were like, that was so dumb.
Don't you feel disgusting right now?
No, and that's no word to God. I feel really bad. I feel really bad. And I look back and I'm like, shame, I shouldn't have said that to that kid, man. He was doing a good thing. Damn it.
Yeah, man, you probably broke his spirit.
Yeah, and he was like, oh man, I do feel like a nerd. No, you're not, man.
You're a good nerd.
You're a cool kid.
You're cool.
You're cool, dude.
You're part
so
of the cooler ones.
You are so cool, dude. You are the best, actually. You are awesome. And I never got the chance to tell you.
But today I'm
telling you that you're the best, man.
I believe in you.
Awesome. Yes. You're awesome and you're onto something. Save the planet.
Jeez, guys, so we're here.
Yeah.
After a very long day, we're finally here.
We were talking about pedophiles earlier.
Oh, jeez.
That's my fault.
I think you need to give context before you say something like that on here.
That's
you know how
fault.
people should reach out and try to help them.
Yeah. No, we'll get into that. But, we're here for this book, this lovely book. Everybody can hold it up to the main camera.
Yeah.
I obviously got the prettier version.
Yeah, she's got the pretty version, the girl version. This is the Tao.
The girl version.
Wow.
It is pretty. It is female.
It's feminine, is what he said.
Yeah, but also we'll get to why it's feminine later.
Okay.
Emmanuel's onto something, and we have lovely bookmarks from Bargain Books.
Shout out to Bargain Books once again.
Shout out to Bargain Books all the time for hooking us up with all our books. Right?
Speaking of Bargain Books,
Speaking of Bargain Books, there's somebody different today.
We have someone new today.
Although she's not representing Bargain Books, she's definitely from there.
Yes.
Right? We have Rouxnette. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
100%. Are you excited to be here?
Yes, I'm definitely excited to be here. I think it's going to be a good day. So far, it's been excellent.
Yeah.
Lovely company. So
vibes, bro.
Vibes. 100% vibes, man. Where do you start with this book, and who wants to speak first? Because there's a lot to say.
You guys have notes.
Yeah, we have notes.
Yeah, so I feel like y'all.
Man, you have something to say, or should I kick it off?
You kick it off. You kick it off.
I can kick it off.
Go for it.
The first thing I'd like to say about this book is I feel inadequate to be talking about it. Right?
Yes.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, guys. This is one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. I think it's going to be a very long time till I read another book like this. I promise you, right? The reason why I feel inadequate is because it's imbued with so much philosophy and there's so much groundwork to understand any kind of verse that's delivered to you here, right? You have to be well versed in spirituality. How many people here, right, know any other spirituality other than Christianity?
No, or like have immersed
have
themselves
you ever
in?
immersed yourself in anything else other than Christianity?
No.
I've like African tradition. I have like the snuff and speaking to your ancestors and slaughtering and spilling of liquor. Even though that one, I'm still like, how did we get here? But okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. I still don't understand how we got here, and maybe we will explore the literature as to how we got there. But yeah, things like that.
Yeah. No, I can confidently say I haven't, but I am on that journey of immersing myself in other religious texts, spiritual texts. It's predominantly been Christian growing up, so this is a whole new experience.
On that note, actually, a lot of the context and the verses that are inside this book, it actually you can refer to the Bible.
That's what I have pulled up here, and that's a topic for conversation, right?
Right.
And it's also a topic for controversial conversation,
Yes.
right? Which we're gonna get into. But let me ask this: who says they understand this book? Is there anyone here who understands it?
No way.
Actually, yeah.
No way.
Let's got it.
Okay, Renee's got it. Okay.
You may take us home.
No pressure.
No pressure.
See your face.
What do you think the book is about? What is this book about?
I have some notes here.
All right. We're in there.
To basically, okay, so the Taoism is based on 3 pillars. So it's simplicity through your thoughts and actions. It's patience for your friends and your enemies, and compassion for yourself. Then the book also teaches us to give yourself up to whatever the moment brings and accept it fully. And admitting fault can be your greatest strength.
Wow. Wow.
Those are bars. Yo. She was speaking Nicki Minaj bars earlier. I was like, man, I don't rate her anymore.
We need to put a sound effect on after she speaks on that one, because you know what? No, that's
one of those.
I was wondering, because that's exactly what the book is about.
It is.
Right?
It is.
That's what the book is about in
Right.
terms of conduct, how to conduct yourself, right?
Right. Holistically. That was a real holistic view. Like, I was about to say, you finished it? Am I the only one who's on like verse 42? Like, whoa.
Yeah, like I'm still way behind, but
Yeah.
really that like you can't-
But is it just me, or you can't read it like a book? You can't.
You can actually.
okay.
If
so it's just me.
you have the simplicity thought, you shouldn't read it like, oh, I'm reading something philosophical or I'm reading something that's deep. Read it as something that's easy to read, because then you'll easily understand it.
Yeah.
100%. And I think, man, this conversation, I'm so mad at myself, because I think I'm going to be the oddball out today, having done a lot of research into different kinds of spiritual practices, right? All the way to occult spirituality, right? So occult meaning hidden, right? The O in occult is just hidden culture, right? Cult is the root word for culture. So get the freaky stuff out there, right? Not
Everybody's behind the camera like, oh my God. Change the channel.
Please don't.
No, on the real, right? Cult. The word cult is the root word for culture, right? So we build cultures around cults. We're all kind of in cults. If you have a culture, you're in a cult, right? No, that's right. That's how it is.
I feel you.
And then occult.
I'm just looking at the person at home like, oh my gosh.
God.
Like realizing this, like, oh my gosh, what the hell?
And that's why I held my head in the beginning, because I did that level of research in these spaces, and especially into philosophy as well. African philosophy, Eastern philosophy. I'm starting to learn Western philosophy recently, but I'm not really familiar yet, right? So occult, the prefix, the O, just means hidden culture, right? So I've studied all of that, right? And there's these things called the mysteries. If I grew up Christian, right? I'm sure everyone here grew up Christian.
Yes.
You didn't grow up, okay.
I grew up in African tradition. I got the choice to go to
Christian.
church, and it seemed like the popular choice, because my mom was like, yeah, go ahead, try it.
Yeah.
You know, try it.
Church.
And my next door neighbors were like, dude, you should come with us or else you're going to hell.
100%.
I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I should go with these guys.
But you didn't grow up consistently going to church.
At first it was like Badimu and all that. First it was...
Rouxnette, what church do you go to?
I actually go to AFM Mother. It's right around the corner from here.
What denomination of Christianity is the church? Do you know?
What do you mean? What kind of...
So you know you have your Catholics, you have your Anglicans, Baptists. These are all denominations of Christianity. Do you know if there's a specific denomination your church falls under?
Not really, actually.
How formal is it? When you go to church, are they formal procedures or is it really casual?
No, it's more casual. Like it's the same as, when I actually came to visit you. You feel at home.
Okay.
It's not somebody is telling you that you need to look a certain way, you need to dress a certain way, or, it's it's all round. I mean, I can take you guys to church and you're going to be like, oh, wow, this is such a nice
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been to like the first time I went to CRC, I went to a church called CRC. I've also been to the one, it's like...
CRC is Christ Baptist Church.
No, CRC is Christian Revival.
Oh, sorry.
Christian Revival.
Okay.
And then there's this one that's like, man, I don't know the street, but I used to go there with a cousin of mine. I'm trying to remember the name, and the name is so easy to grasp. I'll
Light of the Nations.
I've been to Light of the Nations. That was my next door neighbor's church. That's
Okay.
the first one I went to. That one was also like very, very calm, very cool. And they had Youth Fridays, but low key though. We went to Youth Fridays for the girls, and I feel like it was an open, admittedly
Thanks for
thing.
the
It was
honesty.
like, no. Even amongst us as friends, we were like, "Yep, that's why I'm
For
going."
all the wrong reasons.
Yep, but anyway.
100%.
Yeah. Anyway,
I want to ask Emmanuel though. Emmanuel, do you know what denomination your church is?
Yeah, it's Pentecostal. Pentecostal.
jeez, I am learning that today.
No, is it Pentecostal?
Is it me? Is it you know that?
Actually, I'm not too sure because I have honestly been church hopping.
I've heard of
as well.
it.
Yeah,
Like when you
there's
watch
the charismatic kind of churches as well. I think it's along those lines. But for me, I have been on the journey of church hopping as well. So I'm not necessarily fixed at the moment. But I do know of the several.
What's your family church?
The family church, I would say, is Baptist. Yeah, Christ Baptist. Yeah.
Okay. So.
You want to say something? You want to say something?
Yeah,
Go
I
for
actually
it.
want
Go for
to.
it. These people talk, bro. Go for it.
The thing is, when you go
gotta dive
church
in there.
hopping, when you go church hopping, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's more about going in the lines of finding a place called home.
100%.
And we were talking about something similar earlier.
Yeah. We
That
should have
if-
recorded it now.
If you go to a certain place, and I'm going to say the quote again, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells, it's not your tribe.
Okay.
The thing is, you cannot go to a place where you feel you need to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
And you need a place that gives you the freedom to be yourself, but at the same time, the love that allows you to fall with a soft landing.
So let me tell you, I'm actually even going to turn my mic just a little bit up.
Can you turn my headphones up?
Your headphones
My headphones.
are too.
No. My headphones are. Yeah, my
Yeah,
headphones are
you're too.
mine yeah.
I turned it a little bit up. You should be all right.
Thanks. Yeah, I am good. Thanks.
And then we are on 3. I'm just going to turn my mic up a little bit.
yeah, headphones. Listen.
There we go. There we go. That's us. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're recording.
my bad.
It's okay. It's okay. I actually want to tell you about my church experience because you spoke about feeling at home, right?
Yes.
And I went to those churches where you had to walk on eggshells the whole way through. I grew up Roman Catholic, right? So be anything but yourself.
Oh, wow, okay.
That church. No, 100%. No, everybody's there. Everybody's a different person in that church, right? And the reason why I want to get into the feeling at home is because that gave me a perception about Christianity that it feels like you can't be at home in that religion, right? You kind of have to deny so much of yourself, these rules and regulations. And it's hard to discuss the Tao Te Ching, right? We didn't even give people context. We're so bad about like what the book is about and everything.
She gave us what the book's about.
Oh, she did.
That's why we're here. Yeah.
But it's a religious, also the fact that it's a religious text that is the foundation of a religion called Taoism. Or they wouldn't call it a religion.
Yes, they call it is. What
yeah,
is?
It's spirituality to them, right? It's not a religion because it does not have rules.
I can actually the Tao, if the Tao Te Ching, if you actually translate it from Chinese to English, it actually translates to the classic book of the way and its power.
100%.
So that also gives a little bit more insight.
Exactly. So because you couldn't be yourself, it gave me a perception about Christianity that you couldn't be yourself. You always had to be not yourself to live up to the standards of Christianity. And while reading this book, I got the overwhelming sensation. I think this book made it clear to me. And I'm sorry to put you into the deep end so early in the conversation.
Go for it, Doug.
Right? But it became clear to me that Christianity is politicized. Ask me about that.
I can actually, there was one time, there was someone in the church that kept talking about how, no, but these people are sitting and gossiping and these people are doing this and these people are doing that. if you take a glass of water and you walk around the church, you only focus on the glass of water so that no drop spills. How many people are you going to see gossiping? How many people are you going to see? So you have to be so focused on God that the things around you don't affect you anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. People go to church in a sense of, oh, but I'm going to go there because, let me see what other people are doing wrong. And the thing is, going to church is like going to the hospital. You're not going there because you're healthy. You're going there because you need that food, that spiritual food, that spiritual healing. That's why you go to church. You don't go there for the other people.
You can't go there for the other people.
Sorry, I want to make a comment to what you said though.
Yeah.
In a Chino, shit. Okay, I'm ruining this because
No,
you
it's
haven't
fine.
read the whole.
It's fine.
But in Chino, you'll see that when the missionaries come and the Christianity, you finished it, right? So Christianity and government go like this, like hand in hand in the book. I'm just making a comment on what he said.
Yeah. And then you see also on that comment, the fact that Masego can say that it's politicized, that's his upbringing. It's very different now from Rouxnette's upbringing as well, and how she views church and stuff. So his upbringing in the Roman Catholic Church makes him confident to also say that it has been politicized in so many ways. While other people can enter a church and realize, I'm not here to pull some theatrics, right? I'm here to see God, to connect and see God. And people can see God, let's say, in other ways. But to other people, the church is where they find where, hey, I need to realize that I'm a sinner, and that's it. That's my journey that I'm on. So, yeah.
And Rouxnette, I'm glad you're here because I'm not going to let you off the hook easy with this conversation, right? So I've made an observation, right, about spirituality, about people, about church as well. And oftentimes the beauty is in the people themselves, and they find beauty because of they imbue their personality into the religion, right?
I think that ties really close to what you just said.
100%. So when Rouxnette speaks, you'll be like, wow, maybe I should go to church, right? Because whatever's happening there sounds beautiful.
Right.
But that's her personality. Right. And I want to put that to you, to say the religion itself is a very political religion.
Yes.
And having read this, I realized that. I realized how many rules, regulations, actions, behaviors that are in the book that benefited the state at that time, right? And another thing, I'm sorry, I'm taking us there. It's so early in the conversation, we're not supposed to be here.
Go for it, Doug. We're here. Go for it.
Another thing people need to understand, I wish they could understand, is that Christianity is an invention of the Roman Empire. It feels like we avoid that reality, right? You might say, people, if you're Christian, you have this perception that no, Christianity is just, there was a guy named Jesus, he went, he touched the whole world, and now we're all following him, right? But Jesus, we know that Jesus himself was not even a Christian, right? So Christianity, the word Christianity, the belief system that is Christianity that we follow today, the first Christian church were Roman churches, right?
That's it.
And then,
I think we discussed this actually.
100%.
Yeah, we did.
And they set the standard of the practices that people then branched off, right? I'll tell you exactly how it happened. They set the standard of how we worship Christ at that time, right? They added their own flavor into the religion.
Right.
And people were getting upset. People started to get upset about that. So they branched off. They called the Protestants.
Right. Actually,
right?
I think
that's why there's so many
movie, Da Vinci Code, exactly what you're saying.
Something like that kind of happened.
Yeah, you're saying.
It's the Scottish people. Yeah. Even if you watch like Outlander, for example.
I haven't seen that.
But there's quite a few different ways they talk about the Scots and the British and the France and everyone basically branched off because of the things that weren't done properly.
Yes.
Mary, Queen of Scots.
Okay.
Same thing. They started burning the Protestants because they weren't following the Roman Catholics, and they believed that the English should be on the throne, and that was the Catholics.
So it gets hectic when you start looking at the history of. It's so sobering to read a book from a different religion, because then you can either strengthen your religion or adjust where you need to, and it's surprising because you grew up Christian, And the doctrine is you're not allowed to worship, look at anything outside of this, because the punishment is you might burn forever, so you don't even try.
And that burn forever thing is real.
It's a real good incentive to keep you looking at only one doctrine.
Not true.
Dog.
Not true.
Not true.
I find it that way.
Fair.
Yo,
The
that
Bible
one makes you
actually
panic.
tells you taste everything and keep what is good.
Fair. So you see, that's why I made the comment that
I think my perception of it, like
100%.
to talk to what Masego is saying now.
let me say
There's
this.
a lot in the. Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. So let me say this. The text itself is beautiful,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And the text predates the church itself as a political system, right? That's what I want to get clear. I'm talking about the practice as a church.
Right.
And then because people didn't read at that time, the printing press was not even invented. The pastor had a monopoly on deciphering the information for everyone,
Right.
right? It wasn't even in English back then, right? It was in Latin. So the printing press then got invented and people started learning how to read, and the church, the invention of the printing press is what led to the separation of the church and the state, right? Because the church and the state was one thing.
Right.
It had that much power
Right.
in our societies.
And just to comment on that, that's exactly
It's
how
in
it
the
looks
book.
in Chinua, bro. No,
Okay.
not in this book. In Chinua. In Chinua, it looks just like that. I was like, that's funny. I was like, that's funny. It looks just like that. But
100%.
continue.
And I know the chat is about the Tao Te Ching, so I'm going to get off Christianity's back a little bit.
A little bit, he said. A little bit, he said. He said
A little bit.
Yeah, no, we have to get to this, right?
A little bit.
The point that I was trying to make is we could run into this, right? It sounds like an interesting topic.
Yes.
And there's a lot to sort out. But ultimately, the text is beautiful, the doctrine is beautiful, and it's the interpretations, and we get involved and mess it up, right? But reading this book made me realize how much of that text is political. I don't know about you. What do you think about that? Now that I've went on that
I
rant.
feel like that's the same question you asked us earlier. Sorry. Renette,
Yeah,
go for it.
I actually think because there's one of the verses that actually talks about the government, and I was laughing a little because I think that we should actually sponsor the government with this book
Oh, yes, I remember.
so
you saying
that
this,
they
yes.
can actually realize what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's actually a verse that summarizes this book quite perfectly. If you guys won't mind me reading this
Please.
this part.
Please.
So it not only summarizes the book, but it summarizes life for me. My words are easy to understand and easier to put into practice. Yet, no one in the world seems to understand them, nor are they able to apply what I teach. My teachings come from the ancients. The things that I do are done for a reason. Because you do not know me, you are not able to understand my teachings. Because those who know me are few, my teachings become even more precious. So the more that people understand life and how to deal with life, the more we'll be able to be compassionate towards each other. We will be able to have conversations with strangers in the hallway and not wonder, oh my goodness, is this person trying to, take something from me? Give without expecting anything in return. And this is why I like this book particularly. And I was actually fortunate enough to read the translation by MacDonald. And in this version, the master is a female. Hence,
Look at that.
the copy being
The feminine.
actually
Look at
yes.
The feminine.
The Tao being everything and nothing at the same time. But just to answer also your question, so you see the examples you gave, the virtuous examples that come out from these books that we can apply, right? That's the thing where Masego can come and read this book and realize that, what I have grown up with has been so politicized, has been so regulated in such a way that I should act like this, that if I had to take this book, I will not survive. I will be in hell. I will suffer all the consequences, or God's wrath will be upon me. So that's one thing where I can be like, I'm on that journey where I'm now, I can confidently say I'm church hopping. I'm still figuring out exactly my spiritual walk, where it's now easier for me to take this beforehand, I would have brought this up and would have been like, hey, no, throw that book away. But look at the virtue that's coming out of it. All the points that we're going to delve into within this book. There's so much knowledge that we can look at that, read the Bible as well, and be like, there's so much beauty in so many things that it'll make us better people as we go along. So, yeah.
It's the conversation we had a while ago as well, where we said that why is it that we don't? Because it always feels like a lot of these books contain a similar origin story, you know? She just mentioned now before we started that there's a lot of things you can relate in here to the Bible. I think the last time we discussed how we related some of the religious beliefs and actions that the performance that was happening in the hut, the customs where the ladies...
Yeah, the African tribe, yeah.
Right. Where the ladies knelt down and stuff like that. You related that to some of the Roman Catholic religious rituals that you guys actually grew up with. And you were like, oh, we can see some of the customs in there. So what you're saying now, what I like to think is, why don't we have all of the books here, you know? And all of us go, okay, there's something very similar that everybody's saying here. Let's go find the source, you know, let's go find the source. Let's go find out what the hell is going on. Let's not call it this and call it that. Let's go see what everybody saw and talked about, and then, you know, dive into it, you know, and that's what we're doing, obviously, but 100%, it just wanted to relate it to what Emmanuel was saying.
So I think that people who grew up in different kinds of religions can do that. I think why it's not possible, well, it is possible, but why it hasn't been possible in Christianity is because it's a political thing. It became a political thing.
I don't know too much about it. Let me separate
the words itself and the message from what it became. Right? It became a political thing where you are not allowed to consume other kinds of knowledge outside of it. You had to form allegiance to the Christian church.
Right.
And then they took that allegiance. You know, the whole missionaries, those were emissaries of war, communicators of messages of war.
Right.
So have you heard the good news that the Romans have now won this territory?
Right.
And what rules the Romans, or the foundation of the Romans, was Christ.
Right.
So the wrong people took the words, the messages, and I think that you would make a comment like that if you've only grown up Christian, that why can't we put all the books here and check all the knowledge? Because you realize that there's been a part of your life that's been conditioned to say, this is the one and only thing. I mean, I have an obvious question. Does this book ask you to believe in anything?
It doesn't. It
asks you to believe in the way of the Tao. That's what it does. No,
but you see, the Tao is nothing and everything at the same time.
It's nameless and named. I was like, that's when I was like, man, what
it's
the
very
hell am I reading?
You read it once.
That's when I was like, man, what the hell am I reading? Yeah. Man, close this shit, man. What the hell is this?
I think it's very, very practical as well.
Right.
But also, when you start reading it, you're like, okay.
No, it definitely gets there.
As you carry on reading, the parts where it gets confusing in the previous verses, it actually does elaborate in
later on.
Yes.
I saw that as well.
So that's why I'm saying I understand it. It's not, it does get confusing at times, but if you actually sit and think about it, then you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
The same way they were talking about, you know, where you start finding beauty in things, that's when people developed the ugliness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you see good, that's where evil developed. Mm-hmm. Because you cannot just have good.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with people, because we sometimes, if you find beauty in something, you like, I can't say, oh no, but you're so beautiful. I need to break you down, because why can't I have that beauty? And it's the same with good. You can't be good because, you know, I'm evil then. People is the problem. Because where we see something nice, I can't just compliment you. I need to be like, oh no, but I don't like the way that shrub looks because, you know, it's ugly. But meanwhile, I don't even have a shrub. And it's just because of jealousy.
Yeah.
So out of all the little things, people can't just see the good in it.
100%. I think it's because people aren't only good, right? You have to have both. And I think if you've seen the symbol of Taoism, it's the yin and yang symbol, right? Mm-hmm. When you break down that symbol, It's like one side is white, the other side is black, but in the white is a little bit of black, and in the black is a little bit of white, and that's the philosophy they live by, right? That's balance. It's polarity. Rouxnette mentioned that there's a lot of contradictions in this book, right? If you're reading this book, like it will say act without acting, for example, right? Stuff like that. And I want to reconcile that for you, right? Those contradictions, because they're not really contradictions, even though they are, right? And that's a contradiction in itself. And that's the point, right? And how it breaks down is that, they say that, I don't know if you guys know, but they say that Eastern philosophy is the closest thing to African philosophy.
Yeah,
you just don't know African philosophy.
Afro-Asianism, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm going to prove it to you now, right? She read a beautiful passage. And I have a quote here from the Kybalion. The Kybalion is actually one of the books recommended at the end of this book, right?
Yeah.
And the Kybalion is Hermetic philosophy. There's a Greek god named Hermes Trismegistus, right?
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Well, Hermes, which is Mercury, right? But there's a combination of a Greek god and a Egyptian god, and that's called Hermes Trismegistus. He's often, they say the initiates that wrote the Kybalion were channeling the god of writing, which is Hermes Trismegistus. Yeah, or Thoth in the Egyptian pantheon, right?
I remember that from the Kybalion.
100%. So Hermetic philosophy is really, to me, the same thing as Kermetic philosophy. And Kemet is the name of Egypt before it was conquered by
Middle Easterns.
Is it Rome or Greece? But Egypt is a renaming of that place once it was conquered. First, I think, by the Romans, and then later the Arabs, which are still there till today. That's why the Egyptians don't look black. They're not Africans, even though it's in Africa, right? So it was colonized. It was conquered. So this is from Hermetic philosophy. Listen to this and tell me if it doesn't sound like Eastern philosophy, right? This is called the principle of polarity, right? And it says everything is dual. Everything has its poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled, right? That's the principle of polarity. And let me explain what that means, right? It says, opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. For example, let's think about a pair of opposites, like hot and cold. What's the difference between hot and cold?
Temperature.
Yeah, the degrees.
Yes.
It's the same thing. In nature, it's heat energy, and it's just different in degrees. In other words, there's no point on the thermometer that you can concretely point out that, okay, hot stops here,
Yes.
and now cold starts. Because it's actually the exact same thing, and you just change the frequency of that thing, and it behaves in a different way.
But when
Right.
it's not hot, it's cold.
Sorry?
But when it's not hot, it's cold.
Yeah, when it's not hot, it's cold.
And when it's not cold,
But that's
it's hot.
always relative. That's always relative. I can say,
But there's no spot where you can say hot stops here.
yeah, because they're not different things. They're the same thing. And we just call it cold from this point, but it's the same thing. It's
Yes.
different in degrees. Like the degree is now different. Does that make sense?
I'm trying to hold on. So
It's a bit deep.
I'm for the viewers who are like, huh?
Okay.
I'm here for
Okay.
you guys. Yeah, I'm here for you guys. That's why I'm here.
Okay, let's
I'm
think
not
about
listening-
another.
No, I'm listening to you.
Let's think about another different pair of opposites.
Okay. Because the book,
Name one.
like you mentioned, the book says good or bad are born at the same time.
Exactly.
Before and after are born at the same time. It's the same thing.
Verse 2, everyone recognizes beauty
Yeah.
only because of ugliness.
Right.
Everyone recognizes virtue
Difficult and
only
easy.
because of sin, right? Life and death are born together, difficult and easy, long and short, high and low, all these exist together. So,
And there's more. There's more.
oh, should I finish?
No, he was making a point. Now
But that's the thing. When the same with the degrees. When we are at this point, we think, okay, we're at the lowest point because, the sky is up there.
Yeah.
But when you're up there, that could be your lowest point because you can still move upper.
Yeah, so
That's what
exactly
he's explaining.
I'm trying to
Kathy,
understand that.
Kathy, listen. How does up suddenly become down and down become up?
Because let's say when you are in Polokwane, okay, there's a certain level above sea level where you are.
Okay.
But when you're in Cape Town is a different sea level, but you're still on the ground. So it's just the degrees that are changing. It's not actually the level.
The thing.
Yes.
The thing, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get to.
The nature of the thing. Okay, let me put it this way.
Cool.
What's the difference between up and down?
I'm gonna say degrees now because I feel like I'm
The
not
Try answer it without saying degrees.
fine. The difference between up and down is direction. Fine. I think that's it.
It's the direction.
The direction. The difference between if I'm going down, I'm heading that like now. Down is this way, up is this way.
And up is that way.
Right. So I'm pointing down and I'm pointing up. Okay, but I
Okay.
get what you're saying.
So if
I'm
somebody's
up here-
standing at the other side of the world, right? You're pointing up.
when I
aren't
do
you?
this, when I do
Yes.
this. Right.
If somebody's standing, so how can?
even if someone I'm for the guys at home, I'm for these guys.
Yeah, no,
You
fight
guys
for
are
them.
very smart.
Fight for them.
You guys are very smart. All right, I'm trying to catch because I'm also catching up. Innit? I read the book, like I said, even like the last book.
but-
I came in here and I was like, "Yo, I got it," but I was like, "Ugh," and then we talked, and I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
So I feel the same thing's gonna happen, but I have to be honest in where I'm at, in order for the same thing to
It's
happen.
important.
Obviously.
So I'm gonna say it. Cool. So even if I'm pointing down now, right, and
Yeah.
you're over here, oh no, you're over here, right? You're over
Yeah.
here. This is down. My down is up for you because I'm saying from here
Exactly.
is down.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
And you're over here. So pointing down, you're still like, no, there's more up. There's more down here.
The revelation you're supposed to have is that up and down is a pair of things that are supposed to be opposite, right? You have in your mind, before you understand this concept, that something that's opposite is different. Like, I'm good, that's bad. We're different things, right?
But you're saying you're
I'm
still
tall,
people.
You're short, right? You categorize it as different things. And you need to make that mental switch in your mind that it's the same thing. They are identical. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree.
I'm trying to relate
So
it to
good
like
and bad.
everyday life, like the pedophile we were talking about earlier. I'm trying to relate it to that. I'm trying to relate it to like okay, cool. So
Let me
someone's
relate it to everyday
ability
life.
to do bad, right? Someone's capability and strength to do bad is in relation to good, because are we trying to say that the pedophile is bad, but Hitler, that
You can't. So when you get mature, when you get mature with your understanding,
right?
in Christianity, we believe that this is why Christians can't reconcile some of the contradictions that they might come across about the Bible, life, and God in general.
Right.
It's hard to have that conversation without this philosophical point. So, for example, in Christianity, you believe everything is in God's control. There's nothing that exists outside of God, right? God is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, right? So then, logically, the first thing a child asks is, so even the evil, God is in control of that.
That's very true. A lot of people
Right?
do ask that, yeah.
And then,
They go, no, that's
you
Satan.
see, when you don't have
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
exactly
I'm kidding.
you see,
was
when you
actually
have an
making a
immature
joke.
answer, it goes that way. It's
No,
like,
I was making a
okay,
joke.
no,
I was
that's the
making a,
devil.
Hey, I'm clarifying.
But if God is in control of everything,
Right.
so he must be in control of the devil too. So God is actually controlling the devil. It's like, no. Then, they becomes incomplete answers. Like, no, yeah, God is in control, but he gave everyone free will. And then you must stop there. Don't think about it deeper than that. Right?
I can actually elaborate on that one.
There we go.
Okay, so at some point,
He came back for Christians, just by the way. He was like, I'm going to let y'all slide. No, I'm not. Psych.
so to elaborate on that, at some point, I've been struggling with patience. A while ago, I don't have patience, and I pray to God and I tell him, listen, I need patience. He gave me problems to sort out.
Yeah.
And you were like, what is this?
And that's when you learned the most patience.
Exactly. So the thing is, there isn't evil or bad to make your life more difficult. God gives you what you want because that's what you've been asking for. If you ask him for strength, he's going to give you problems that are hard to solve.
So that you can be strong.
So that you
Exactly.
can be strong.
And evil exists so that you can know good. That's what this book is saying.
That's
too.
duality.
Exactly. So the thing is, it's not, yes, sometimes bad things happen to good people, but at the same time, you wouldn't be receiving that bad thing if you weren't strong enough to handle it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that makes you question, was it really a bad thing? If that bad thing changed your life in the best way, was it a bad thing?
Yes.
Or was it the best thing to ever happen to you?
And if something happened to you, let's say 5 years ago, if you look at yourself 5 years ago from now, you'll be like, wow, I can't believe I was so immature. I was so...
You were just talking about me talking to the
was
kid at
nodding
school.
his head.
No.
That's the thing. We're here to grow. We're here to learn.
Yeah.
And if we're not changing or becoming better versions of ourselves, what is the point?
Right.
110%. Like, you see, I think it just goes back to, because
That's deep.
the point of this, I think this brought out this whole conversation, was the fact that this book sounded contradictory. You know, and if we don't go on that journey of learning, as he said, we can look at, no, that's bad, or this book is bad, or everything that they're saying, it sounds so contradictory. That time, they're saying the same thing, just like how we quoted from the Kybalion, the duality that is speaking, that actually it's not contradictory. It's just different degrees of the same thing. And that's how we learn. That's how we learn.
And the thing is, you can actually act by not acting. By, let's say, for example, you go to a party and some people are, I don't know, I'm just throwing it in there, doing drugs. By you not doing drugs, they're going to be
That's
like,
an action.
well, that person actually has something within them,
Yeah.
and I want that.
Yeah.
And that's the same with Christianity.
Mm.
By me not, okay, well, I'm not carrying my Bible under my arm, but by my
100%.
actions, you be able to tell that, oh, but she's a Christian.
100%.
It's not that now I'm trying to baptize everyone, but by my actions.
You can tell that something is grounding this person. It's a deep book, and it has many layers, right? It has the layers of conduct, right? Of how to behave, but it has the philosophy as well, right? And the philosophy is the hardest thing to get. You need to, I guess this is an initial thoughts podcast, but you need to immerse yourself.
Yeah, people have already finished the books in here.
Yeah.
We're on initial
No.
thoughts. Like,
No, I had to. I had to for my soul. This book. You guys don't understand this book, and it's not just your book only, by the way, that speaks of God as a female or anything divine as feminine, right? Because I think it was on page 5. I remember. You don't even tell me. It was. Please open verse 5 for me. Right? No, it's not verse 5. It's not verse 5.
man was kind of confident for that.
I was sure about that one.
Man was.
It looks. Hold on. I'm gonna hit you with it.
Perhaps
not-
if you check, because I
It's
know
verse
it's
6.
verse
Sorry.
6.
It's
Okay.
verse 6. It's on the page of verse 5.
Uh-huh.
Close enough.
You
I already know. You ain't gotta tell
ain't gotta
me.
tell me. So, I mean, verse 6, right? Endlessly creating, endlessly pulsating. The spirit of the valley never dies. She is called the hidden creature. The hidden creator. Although she becomes the whole universe, her immaculate purity is never lost, and she assumes countless of forms. Her true identity remains intact. Whenever we see or don't see, whatever exists or doesn't exist is nothing but creation of this supreme power. So they describe the supreme power or God as a female.
I must say your verse is much longer than mine.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Book is the
Read
one.
yours, read yours.
Mine is, the spirit of emptiness is immortal. It is called the Great Mother because it gives birth to heaven and earth. It is a vapor, barely seen but always present. Use it effortlessly.
I know. I like how they
put it.
put it in the beginning, the
Yeah.
first part, where because they birthed the
But
earth and the heavens. I was like, damn.
But in my version, it doesn't only use God as the female, it actually uses the master as well.
I think that's what.
And that's why I feel I relate more to this
This version.
because C, by verse 12. 5 colors blind the eye, 5 notes deafen the ear, 5 flavors make the palate go stale, too much activity deranges the mind, too much wealth causes crime. The master acts on what she feels and what she sees. She shuns the latter and prefers to seek the former. So in my
She's
version,
also the master.
yes.
Which is the sage, right? There's the concept.
Is it the sage or the
It's
seed?
a sage.
Oh, it's a
So,
sage. Oh, it's a sage.
so
Yeah, it is a sage.
you know how
I had to Google
Christians,
that.
in order for people to understand this book, you know how Christians want to be more Christ-like? In here, you want to be more like the sage. It's the same concept, right? And I feel like the archetype of the sage is very similar to Christ, right? And I'll there's a specific thing that made me realize this, right? They're the same philosophies and principles, right?
Y'all's handwriting is
Stop it.
poor.
Check this out. So I wrote
Just
here.
hide mine.
I wrote here. This is the Bible on conflict, right? This is Christ's teachings, right? Matthew 5 verse 39. It says, "But I am saying to you, do not resist an evildoer. On the contrary, whoever slaps you on the right cheek."
I love you see his face when he was putting that up. He was like, "You ought know this one."
Yeah, everybody knows this one. Whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other cheek to him as well.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the Tao Te Ching on conflict. Listen to this. "A wise man does not contend. Therefore, no one can contend against him. Yield and overcome." Right? Yield means stop. Right? You don't contend and no one can contend against you. I feel like that's the exact same principle. If somebody hits you, you don't fight back. You offer the other cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
no, people don't generally do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But those are the same principles.
Right.
Yes.
Those are the same teachings.
Yeah.
So it's sorry, Christians. It feels
Back here.
bad.
He's back here.
It just feels bad for me to think that if I open this book, and I love Christianity now, by the way, I'm just being cheeky. I'm being cheeky. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. It just sucks that the old me would have never been allowed to pick up this book. I would have been betraying my God by accessing another religion. Even though this religion has nothing to do with an idol that I need to worship, we have the Buddha and Lao Tzu. We sort of idolize them in the sense that we idolize celebrities. Those are false idols in a sense as well, right? So, but I didn't think about it that way. I thought as long as the word religion, and this is not Christianity, I'm messing up because my God is a jealous God, right?
But at the same point, I think it's more about finding a balance. You're welcome to obviously keep an eye out on, but what is this about or what is that about? Having that curiosity, but not letting it overrule your life and becoming something that's taking over your religion. And that's where the Bible also tells you that too much of something is bad for you. So don't all of a sudden now become a monk, keep your Christianity, but you have that freedom to have a look at different things. So that's the nice thing. That's where I'm saying, where if you find a church, find a place where you're home. Because they're not going to tell you, oh no, but why are you drinking Oasis water and you're not drinking my holy water? It's not about that, as long as you are quenching your thirst.
Yeah. And it'll be so specific to you.
Exactly.
And that's the journey that you're on. It's not someone forcing that you should do this and these are the regulations. You will know what's home for you.
Exactly.
And it's that curious mind, as you said, you go on that journey of opening other books, looking at similarities, Matthew, and also one of the verses, and being like, wow, there's beauty in this. Like, I can read this book and be like, there's so much practical wisdom, and feel like I can continue on this journey without having to put it down.
Exactly.
And that's where we're on.
I mean, still on similarities, still on the conversation of similarities between the Tao Te Ching and the Bible. I want to point out more principles that I felt were exactly the same, right? There's one here. This is I wrote the Tao Te Ching on giving back, right? Verse 77. Let's turn to verse 77 of the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about to say
in
that.
church.
It's on Sunday.
And it's a Sunday. All right. So I'm going to read verse 77. It says, "Heaven operates like the bending of a bow. The high it pulls down, the low it brings up. It takes from that which has too much and gives to that which has too little. The way of man is otherwise. He takes from that which is depleted and gives to that which has too much." Right? One who can offer an abundance to the world, one who has the Tao, such one can give like the heavens. The sage, and this is the important part, the sage gives without relying on his own effort. He completes without waiting for reward. He illuminates without stepping from the shadow, right? That's on giving, right? These principles about how you give to that which has little, right? And take from that which has too much. That's what we read in the beginning. There's a balancing fact, right? And that's the principle of giving back in the Tao Te Ching. I'm going to read, I wrote here Deuteronomy 15, verse 11. This is in the Bible, right? Give generously to them and do so without a grudging heart. Then because of this, the Lord will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore, I command you to be open-handed towards your fellow Israelites who are poor and needy in your land. Small mistake. Right? And then this is Psalms 82, 3, verse 4. Right? Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. Recuse the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. God is not naive. He knows there is a tendency for the strong to exploit the weak. In here it said, that is not the way of man. Right? In the Tao Te Ching, it said, that is not the way of man. He takes from that which is depleted and he gives to which that is too much. God is not naive. He knows there is a tendency for the strong to exploit the weak. He demands that his people rule in a way that protects the vulnerable. So these are, again, I think word for word, bar for bar. It depends on translation.
Man said bar for bar.
All right?
Back from intermission. Here's the song. There's a song
Jeez.
on the thing.
Okay, can somebody remind me what was the last thing you were saying before we were cut off?
We were talking about the Bible verse.
The similarities.
Yes.
Okay.
Deuteronomy.
All right.
Good try. I wasn't even.
Deuteronomy. Yeah. No, so we had to quickly take a forced intermission there, right?
I bet.
Fall apart.
Yeah, because things fall apart. And that was our previous episode. No, but we're back. I think the note we were on is just the similarities between the two texts.
Yes.
Right? And I remember I said word for word, bar for bar. These sounds like the same principles. And I said that I think I'm privileged. The fact that my perspective is that all religions converge to the same thing.
Yep.
Right? And I'm not just saying that, right? I even know the origin stories of some of the texts in the Bible. Remember I said Christianity as it stands today was a political agenda. More people need to research what that actually means. It means what we understand of Christianity today is not by God's doing, but of man's doing. And that's a tough conversation because you're touching at people's personal beliefs and personal experiences with God. Right? So it's like, it's a difficult conversation. It's not for today. Today's about the Tao Te Ching.
This is initial thoughts. Maybe it's not for today, but we'll have this conversation.
Yeah, it will grow. I
Yeah.
think our knowledge will grow, and our conversations will grow as we grow as a people.
Yep.
And as a podcast, to be able to have those difficult conversations. I said in the beginning that this is the best book I've ever read for many reasons. I still feel like I can't convey all of the philosophical reasons why this is like, oh my God, guys, right? One of the philosophical points, if you let me take the conversation there, is about, let's actually talk about the Tao, the nature of the Tao, what the Tao is, because I feel like it's the central theme about what this book is about, right?
Yeah.
It almost comes across as a character, even though the book is not really about the Tao per se. The Tao feels like it's playing a supporting role.
Well, because we have, I'm guessing it's her in the book.
Yes.
And we have
The
Sage.
Supreme, yeah, and the Sage,
Right.
100%. But I want to, let me open it up to the floor, right? Maybe everybody give a description of what they feel the Tao is. Not from what you've heard us say, but from reading the book. What was your experience? What do you think the Tao is? Maybe we can start with Ru.
Okay, so
When did it become Rue? I thought it was Roxy.
Ru is my name.
age, maturity,
Age maturity game with
Life
Oh,
experience.
Roxy was the
Emotion-
wild girl, huh?
yeah, emotional intelligence.
I like that. I like that. Okay, cool.
So for me, the Tao is just the way that you perceive something. The Tao can be a leaf of grass. It can be, it's different for everyone. It's not. I actually say no two people read the same book. You can read a book and it speaks differently to you. I can read a book and it's something completely different. It also depends on which stage in your life you are. You can read this book within a year's time and it's going to be something completely different. So I think the Tao is something that's different for each person. You can be going through something and verse 77 might mean something to you. For me, verse 2 might be like at the moment. So I think it's different for everyone else.
Wow. What is Tao? Tao is the way and not the way. No, I'm kidding. I'm not
That's
kidding,
what I
but
was
that's
wondering.
so true.
Exactly.
It's so true. Tao is, honestly, bro, Tao is. Like, that's how I feel
Just is.
about the book. Tao just is. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't think it's a rigid way of living. Because that's
Yeah.
how I would have described it prior to us having a bit of a conversation about it. And us
Yeah.
indulging in it. I would have come here and said, it's a way of life. It's just like it's honor and whatever. But it is like when something bad happens, that is Tao. When something good happens, that is Tao. And it is a result of Tao. When you're in a bad state, that is Tao. When
Yeah, it just means you're in a wrong degree.
right, you're on the wrong. Yeah, but you're in Tao. You're just on the wrong level. You're on the wrong. Well, depending, right? Because going back to my pedophile.
Example.
You cannot be this
Pedophile
difficult, can
example.
you?
Going back to my pedophile. His Tao is a little different, isn't it?
It's tough. Just on the pedophile chat, Kati.
Sure.
In African societies,
Right.
we used to marry girls,
Yeah.
right, that are just turning 12 and
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
That would be classified as pedophilia
Yeah.
in today's culture.
Yeah.
But in
still
those,
think it's
back
wrong.
then.
I still think it's not okay
Right.
because, well, that's
But
just
I mean,
my personal
in
beliefs.
those
You
years,
must finish. But you must finish things fall apart, bro. You must finish it, bro.
that's the
What
thing.
you're saying right there is there. It's there at the end, bro.
Yeah.
Things
Read
that
it.
were taboo back in the day,
Yeah.
it's okay now. And
Yeah.
things that were okay then, it's just like, no, you're a borderline psychopath.
Right,
Yeah.
you're on the
And-
edge there, buddy.
That's how people are evolving.
Yeah.
And I mean, in those years, the younger you married, the better, because it means the more children you had, the
Mhm.
richer you were.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, okay, well, now I need to feed them myself. I need to clothe them myself. It doesn't take a village to raise a child anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
Yeah. And I think that's also the Tao. it flows. You know,
Exactly.
that
is
same
now.
example was funny that you mentioned that. But then also just to answer your question, I looked at verse 37, right? And it says the Tao does not act, yet is the root of all action. It does not move, yet is the source of all creation, right? The Tao does nothing but leaves nothing undone, right? So the does nothing part, it cannot be described, right? You can't attribute it to a single thing,
Name and nameless.
right? It's name and nameless at the same time. So that duality conversation, right? And also it leaves nothing undone, has a sense that it's still all interconnected. Even though it's nothing, it's something at the same time.
Yeah.
And they mention a lot. I think one of the themes, but one of the principles is water. And I love that, the way it explains the Tao, because water is formless. It has no purpose. It has no intention. It just flows. Not necessarily even the beginning and end of a source of a water body source. It just flows. Where it needs to go, it will be there at that same time. So that's how I'm understanding the Tao.
That's quite enlightening, actually.
Bruce Lee says,
Yeah,
I said, empty your mind.
Yes.
Be formless.
Be like water.
Shapeless. Like water, my friend.
Wow.
Now, water can flow
Yeah.
or it can crash.
Yeah.
You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup.
Yeah.
You put water into a teacup, it becomes the teacup. Be water, my friend.
That was a nice one.
That's Bruce Lee,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Meditating on the Tao.
Yeah.
It was really interesting listening to all your descriptions of the Tao. And, I feel like the experienced one here, right? Because I know exactly, the Tao is what Christians would call God.
I feel like,
Yes.
and hold
it's
on.
the same thing.
Hold on. I feel like because it is both named and nameless,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a verse, like you say. I would have described it as the woman that there's a verse. It's here. Hold on. I'll find it. I don't have notes. I'm sorry.
Okay, but I'm letting you know, once you start reading those same passages
Yeah.
and just changing the word Tao for God, then those verses will start all making sense immediately.
Here we go. As nameless, it is the origin of all things, right? And as named, it is the mother of all things. Now, I feel like that was God named.
Exactly.
Named.
No. Yes, Tao is God named.
Right.
Okay, so let me put it like
Right.
this. The philosophers, right, back in the day used
First
to...
one, just by the way. Shows you how far I got. Okay.
The philosophers back in the day used to contemplate on the limitations of language, right? And you can see that coming through here, right? Language is a tool, but it's not the actual thing. I'll give an example.
I got chills there.
Yeah, it's a tool, but not the actual... Pass me that pen.
Oh.
What is this?
Pain.
You see, you guys use language to describe this thing, but you've said nothing about it, right?
It's a writer.
I was about to say it's an object used for writing.
But check, it's
It's
either
an author.
that's all language. It's a pen, or it could be a quadrillion molecules all somehow coalescing to form this form, right?
Right.
Those molecules form, those atoms form molecules and then form this structure.
Right.
And in that, there's different elements. They could be They could be all kinds of metals in the ink that form this, and somehow this is glued together. It looks still, but it's not really still. If you take a microscope, all these things are vibrating.
Right.
Right. I'm now starting to describe what this thing is. So that you start to. You said it's a pen.
But that's the wonderful thing about language.
Yeah.
It gives you a shorter description instead of having to go about, but this is a cotton material.
100%. But here's the problem with that shorter description. My lecturer in film school used to say, know the rules and then break them. Right? Once you know the rules, you can break them. And I feel like it's the same with language, is that it allows you to break the rule. You don't know how to then break the rules. You start relying on the word. I think it was Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. He has his own version of the Tao Te Ching, by the way, and he reads it on YouTube. He's a leader in the spiritual world. Wayne Dyer is from the same school of thought as your Eckhart Tolle. Kendrick Lamar was in sessions with Eckhart Tolle for his album. Right, so it's the same kind of philosophy.
Power of now.
Power of, you see, she knows. She knows
Practicing
exactly.
the power of now.
Exactly.
Man, she's the manager at a bookstore.
Okay.
Of course she knows. Don't do us like that.
But Wayne Dyer says that in his book, Conversations with God, funny enough, the one that I recommended to
Carol, yeah.
100%, he says people put so much trust or faith, emphasis on the word of God to the point where they even start to deny the experience of God. Right? So that's the trap with words, is if you don't know that they're just words, they're just symbols, that the thing itself is something completely different, then you tend to think the words are real, right? You tend to think the words are more important. You tend to think that this information, just because it does not have the label Christianity, you think, okay, this is bad, because you're trusting the labels. You didn't go and read the book, right? So philosophers used to think about that a lot. So in a sense, by them saying that the Tao is nameless, they're trying to say, get rid of the name. I don't want to say God, because that's just a placeholder for everyone's, like she said,
That's
everyone reads a book differently.
That's why I fought your description.
That's why you fought with me.
I was like, what do you
But
mean?
my, my God and your God is not the same. We're not saying the same thing when you say God.
No.
Right?
I'm saying to you, sorry.
Yeah.
No, my point was, and I feel like I'm disrupting, but my point was, you said
the Tao is
that was God when you look at it from holistic.
And you were like,
Christian.
no.
I was like, no.
We were debating
It's
the
God
word.
named, sure. The Tao is God if you name it.
Sure.
But unnamed, God, then Tao just is.
Okay.
The Tao is just everything. They say God created everything. That's the Tao name.
So let me describe what I mean by God, right? I'm not talking about God, a personality. I'm talking about God as it was intended. God, the everything. God, the everything. I wrote here in my notes. I wrote differences between, although there are similarities
this time
between.
It's you banging the table.
Sorry.
And moving the mics.
And moving. although there are similarities between the Tao and the Bible, there are differences, right?
Right.
And I wrote here differences. And I wrote, in Christianity, God has a personality. Right? He's a person, yes. It's a person. Right? We even say we're made in the image of God. In Taoism, God does not have a personality. It's not a person. You're not even supposed to think of it as an entity with emotions and feelings and wants and needs. There's verses in here that says the Tao is fair to everything. Like it gives life to everything. And that's the same of the Christian God. We're talking semantics now, so stay with me, right? But I'm talking about most people's perception of God in Christianity, right? In fact, I'm sure a lot of people are imagining a white old guy with a beard. It's not even a girl. It can't be a girl, right? It's that guy, Father Time. The Father, as we say, the Father it's deep, right?
Santa Claus, he said.
Another thing that I wrote here is that in Christianity, God wants. So he wants you to accept Christ. He wants you to live like these things that God demands of you in Christianity, which is noble, right? Because it's guidance from a higher power. But in Taoism, God does not want anything from you. Like it does not. It's not a thing that can want, right? So when I say God, when I say the Tao is God, they mean the energy, the literal essence that makes existence possible, right? I want you to meditate here. We're gonna identify God or the Tao in a second. I want everyone to meditate. I'm gonna keep quiet, and everybody's gonna keep quiet as well. And in that moment where you keep quiet, just think about the fact that you exist. Just the idea that you can exist, like there's something. Forget about the labels, forget about your personality. That's what they mean. Your ego's gotta die. Forget I'm country.
Nice one.
Okay.
No, it came all the way back too.
Okay.
Jesus, that was a long time ago.
Inside joke.
Yeah, inside joke.
No, but your ego is your sense of self, right? So forget about that. Forget in this moment that I'm Katlego, I'm Rouxnette, I'm looking at something. Try stop thinking. It's hard, right? So you're only going to be able to do it for a second, right? And just think of the fact that, or feel the feeling of being alive, aware, right? We're going to do it in 3. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so come back.
I'm still trying to find it.
You're trying to get it. Okay, but it was silent. You see, you're trying to think about it, right? Whatever that experience was, not you trying to understand it. That's Katlego talking. We're not talking about Katlego. You need to separate Katlego from that thing that was just there while Katlego was trying to figure out what's there, right? That thing permeates through all things, right? And that's what Taoists call God. That thing, I'm alive, and I can think, what am I experiencing? Why are we quiet, right? The ability to even contemplate on anything exists in everything, right? The trees as well. There's a spirit that brings life to them. And it's the same spirit that's permeating through us. That's what connects us all. That's what people have a hard time trying to figure out. It seems too deep. That's why Taoists spend so much time just trying to think about nothing. When they say, when you meditate, try to think about nothing. They're trying to realize the fact that they can even be here. Just the idea of the potential of being alive is incredible to them. And that's what they've reduced God to, that fundamental.
We're going to need a rewind on that sentence. You said,
to that fundamental building block.
You said the potential of just that is incredible. Being alive.
And that's why God is formless.
Rewind!
Right.
Rewind!
So check it.
No,
that's why God is formless, because God is potential. It's the potential for there to even be anything at all. That's why it's so hard that's why the verses say it's so hard to describe. It's nameless, it's in everything, and it's just, you can only do poetry and prose to try to describe it. But it's not a thing, right? What exists before things exist?
The thing is, I think if you try and label it as a thing,
it becomes a thing.
No, you want to put it in a bottle. You want to, and you can't, because your mind isn't capable
of contemplating. Even in Christianity, you say God works in mysterious ways. You cannot understand the mind of God. If you see God, you die, or something like that.
Yes.
If you saw the face of God, you would die. That's all poetry. I want to end it off with this, then everybody can go on rants, right? Right? And tell me how you feel about what we've just said. It's akin to, she's very right. It's akin to, imagine creating a computer program. And imagine that computer program became aware that it's a computer program. Like, oh my God, I'm a program. I must have a programmer, right? Now, is it possible for that computer program to understand my mind as its creator? As something that created it?
Because also, I think as soon as it knew it would be, I'm just a computer program, it's going to be like, well, I can never be more than that.
Here's the magic.
So it limits.
Here's the magic. If it could understand my mind, it would become me. That's the point. As soon as it can figure out everything that I am, people who are trying to understand God, as soon as you understand God, you become God, right?
I think
it's hard to take in.
I think it can become me. Like, I think
the program. Yeah, because it is you. It was created from its essence, the essence that created it.
You guys said, I was just answering your question.
No, but the thing is, I think that's why there are superheroes and there are villains. It depends on the person's, how do I put this? It depends on the person's mind. Like, what would they put it towards? Am I putting it towards good or evil? Mm-hmm. And I think that's why there is only one God, per se. Because if everyone understood God, what chaos would this world not be? Because everyone would want to rule it in their way. Everyone would want to, and I think it's the same with being a president. You wouldn't want that burden. Imagine looking down on earth and you're seeing all these people doing all of these wrong things and not being heartbroken by them.
I think, sorry, just to relate to that, the reason I said I think it can become God, I think everyone can become God. I think, sorry, controversial. What I'm saying. But I'm just giving an opinion. It may be controversial. It may be wrong. I'm sorry, guys.
You said
honestly,
Yeah. the
Yeah,
word
honestly,
can is
I
also
don't
a
mean
good
any harm or malice by it. I'm just giving an opinion.
Yeah.
I think we can become God because God is, right? Like I said, right? So God is, okay. Now, in terms of the creator of all things and the matter and that, I hear you. That might be a bit difficult. And I might be speaking
Raising
from,
people from the dead.
right? And I might be labeling myself like in the manner that, oh, this guy is so all powerful and stuff. No, I'm not saying that. I mean in the sense that I can just be and you know, how do I say this? Sorry.
Mhm.
I can just be and act by not acting, you know, like just being. I can just, because I mean a lot of the times we have that statement, oh God, where are you? Why isn't this
Yeah.
is no whither, come on, if there was a God then why no, you know? I think you can become God, but just be, you know. I think not to say that there's an unhealthy God or there's a bad God, you know,
Yeah.
that's labeling again, but we can become God by just being. You said, if the creator of the AI, could you become the creator? And I think you can. Like, you can have the same ideologies, you can have the same, and I'm putting labels to everything, but you can have the same point on the or direction on the degrees. Sorry, direction in degrees. Right, so I'm in a direction of good in my degrees, and I think you can have the same. And I think in our stern perseverance is what I want to say. Like in our like confidence in our position in where we stand, in being on that degree towards good, not towards bad. Even though it's all on the same spectrum, that is where godlike behavior, or not godlike behavior, or godlike
This is
I don't know how
this
to
is
put
funny.
it, but you know, that's where God is, like right there. Like,
This
okay,
is funny.
now you're there. Right, cool. I don't know, I can't label it, but because it's nameless, but then you just are and on the right spectrum. Well, not the right spectrum, but
Let me help
a
you out.
God spectrum.
Let me
Cool.
help you out.
Sir.
Jeez, this is funny
Sorry.
because you know this is why I love this book, and this is why we're gonna like think about this for a very long time.
Right.
I'm realizing that I can only drop the bomb on you, and we have to figure this out some other time.
Right.
The bomb of this book is not that we can become God. It's really what you're supposed to take away is that you are already, right? I think what you're trying to say is that we can become good, right?
Right. That's why I'm sorry.
Or better versions of
Or
ourselves.
better versions of ourselves. But God is not a better version of ourselves. That's the hard lesson, and that's the pill to swallow in this book.
Yeah.
This book is saying that from this religion's perspective, God is everything that is, right? If you open the Christian Bible, there's a verse when I think it was Moses. He asked them when they sent him back after meeting with the burning bush, right? He was sent back. He's like, what am I going to say? Like, I just talked to a burning bush. Who am I going to say I spoke to? And God said, go and tell them that, go profess to them or something, that I am the great I am. I am that I am. That's all God described himself as. He said, I am that I am.
Yeah, and the thing is, if the people who it mattered to, like they say, those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. So those, the people would know that, okay, well, it was a message from God. It wasn't, you don't need to explain it. You don't need to dissect it. You don't need to elaborate on it.
That's deep.
Because you know.
That's deep, Rouxnette. That's hectic. Right? Right?
I know.
It's a state. The funny thing about life is it's just a state of coming to knowing. And, right? And that knowing is in the present. It's not in the future. It's like it exists here. That's why the power of now. Right?
And sometimes
if you're looking for
even
God, just know that God is here.
And
right?
even sometimes understanding that you don't know is also fine.
Yeah. That's the paradox. Sorry. That's the paradox. And, you know, Kendrick says, I've realized that life is about perspective. I think this book the amount of contradictions, I think Rouxnette was on the mark when she said in the beginning that it has a lot of contradictions. I think it throws you with that contradiction, and you need to understand that they all fit somewhere. And it's not for you to then read, and then if anybody picks up this book and is looking to read this book, and you feel like, I don't understand, but you said this then, and you said, if you don't understand it, cool. Just know that it has a place, and the words are limited to describe every single nuance to you, right? You're thrown with a lot of contradictions, because life is contradictory in its nature. It's a philosophical thing, and you'll never be. Those who know will know, as she was saying. Fantastic book, in my opinion. I'm lost for words. I could go on forever, but if you guys could share your final thoughts, is that okay? Especially after our conversation as well. I'm interested to know.
Oh yeah, for me.
I pass the mic to you.
Yeah, because it usually goes around. No, this book it's amazing. I think it's also refreshing. At the same time, it's very different from what I'm used to. And I actually had a conversation with a friend not too long ago, and we're just speaking like some of the engineering terms, and we're describing of God even like a house, right? And if you're gonna design a house on AutoCAD, right, you'll have the left-hand side, you have the right-hand side, you have the top-down view and everything like that. So everyone can get a perspective of what God is, right? But it's only through you moving through those different views is which you will actually see and be God. So even that other nuance that God is also at the same time right here, it ties in so well that as you're on this journey of learning more about God, God is with you right here and right now. And I think that's what this book is also communicating. I'm loving it. I haven't finished it, but I think it's a long-term thing. It's like it will be in my shelf for a very long time. But yeah, it's an amazing book.
Oh God, sorry, the mic. What I took most of from this, at least, was scientific. Oddly enough, I stopped. Well, not I stopped completely. I don't know what's gonna happen when I get home, but I stopped looking at God as a person, as like some sort of comforter. Like if I just lean on, then things will come my way, I think I started to ask myself what happens in the brain during that connection, like to God. I was asking myself during while we were having the conversation, like what happens in the brain, because I've had real experiences, like Rouxnette said, where she said that she prayed for patience and she got problems, right? I've had real experiences where I prayed for something, and I've had moments where it's like, whoa, like that thing is like, it's like I'm being set up for that thing,
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to see the numbers connecting now, and it's just I'm asking myself, is that a brain thing? Like, that is God too, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm just asking myself, how do I explain it to myself scientifically? Like in my brain, what am I seeing? And science is also a label and stuff, so it also, you can't really say pinpoint, this is exactly what you're seeing, sir. It's a label which English is providing. And
Naval says there's no such thing as science with a capital S.
Right. Right. So we can't say, boom, there it is. But just to generalize, I'd like to see, like in an MRI or something, what's happening in your brain when you have that, I prayed for this, and now it seems as though, like, what is awake in your brain now that wasn't there before, because we all know what we want. We all know. We sit here and we like know what's good and what's bad. Like, we can all differentiate, we can all know the peaceful life. We don't like ESCOM 24/7, we don't like electricity. We don't like ESCOM to get their shit together and like electricity 24/7. We all know like these type of things. So when you pray, it's not like anyone's praying for a building to burn down, like next door or whatever, don't get me wrong. There might be a businessman who's looking at a venture and he's like, but you know what I mean? Like, generally, we don't want those people to get hurt. We don't want those lives, to be affected. So I think, I lost my train of thought.
But it's the same as asking when exactly you fell in love with someone. You won't be able to pinpoint the exact date, time that you fell in love with someone.
Right.
It just happen.
Right.
It's a nice one.
I think what I'm trying to say is like you see things differently after like a meditation session or a connection with a higher power, like in this instance, connection with God, praying and stuff like that, right? Like that when you meditated and just thought about being alive and stuff. I think what I'm trying to say is you look at it differently immediately after, immediately after, and that look at it differently. I want to understand in my brain, like what is happening, like what's going on, because I looked at certain things differently after praying and after, like you mentioned, like the conversation you can now have with a homeless person,
Yes.
and I had that realization, there was I can't remember, I should probably have this for another session, but there was the Bible verse that a friend of mine gave to me that related to what I was going through at the time. But like I said, like I didn't see hobos the same as them. Like, oh my God, get away from me, I saw them as people just like us, and we can have conversations about where they're from, how they got there, like what life's about for them and what they perceive. And I think I just would like to know that switch, like how what's happening in your brain, from going, oh, I'm suffering, I don't have a job, I don't have money, and then you just seeing things differently. Like now it's no longer I don't have a job, it's just no, I can A, B, C, D, E into getting a job or into being in the position to do what I wanted to do. It's not always sometimes about the job, it's about what you're doing at that time. So yeah. Sorry, I spoke too much, but yeah, that's how I feel right now. Yeah.
Okay, no, it's fine. I think what's happening is not what's happening in your brain. It's not a process that happens in your brain, but it's awareness. You've become more aware. That is literally what just has happened. More conscious, as they say. That's what they mean. Yeah. You're a conscious folk. Yeah. You've become more aware. Some people describe it as more awake because we're in the state of sleep. It's that autopilot we talk about. The real you is sleeping. There's Katlego now, right? But there's a you that exists before Katlego was born, right? That part sleeps when we come into this world. That's what my philosophies have taught me. And then when we leave this world, that part wakes up again. Right? Let's keep it there for now because it's another rabbit hole.
Okay. So with me, the thing that actually was just mind-blowing in itself about this book is that this book is 2,500 years old.
Yeah.
And it can still be applied to today. And the funny thing is that you can read it a year from now. I always say books speak to people. You will read them when you are ready. And I was sort of thrown in the deep end. Thanks, Mace. So, and you know what? I actually want to thank you for that. Because if it weren't for you, I don't think I would have ever read a philosophy book, an esoteric book, whichever you want to call it. I've always been the type of person to say that I don't want to open doors to things that I don't know.
Yeah.
And even with that, it's opened my heart to Christianity so much more.
Yeah.
So this was, wow.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I have a friend, his father is a pastor. And I know I come across as controversial in the beginning, but I told him, if anything, you're going to leave here with a bigger appreciation for your faith, right? Because you will quickly realize I'm not trying to convert you. All I'm doing is giving you thoughts to think about. And then you make a decision. Everyone still gets to make that choice. That I want to walk this path. This is how I relate to God. Yeah. And I've had to mature with that as well. I had to let go of my beef with things I didn't agree with and realize that I need to get right with myself and walk my path. And that's all that matters, because that's everything. It literally is everything when you really begin to understand it for what it is. So thank you. I think part of why we're even on this journey is because of your support as well.
That's very true.
That's the reason we have this book, actually. So I'm glad that it affected you that way. Jeez, guys, that was. Are you
That
guys
was
happy?
deep.
Yeah.
That was the Tao Te
Yes.
Ching. You know, we
Yes.
gotta do the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Many cameras. That was.
It's like 4 different.
I don't know which.
Yeah. 4 different views.
Yeah, we can kill it at that.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I didn't understand for a bit.